Welcome, everyone, to another very exciting episode of the Team Lead Talks podcast. I am your host, Andrew Becker, out of Alexandria, Virginia. On today's episode, a man I met a few weeks ago down in Nashville at a coaching event, Micah Nicholes, the owner of USLeadList. Welcome, man.
Hey, thanks for having me, man. Great to reconnect again. It's great.
Yeah, definitely. So let's just jump right into it, man. For those who might not know who you are or what USLeadList is, doing, can you give us a high-level overview? 80,000-foot overview.
Absolutely. So, the business at its core, basically, when someone passes away and they own real estate, we know about it. We generate a national monthly list, and people can basically subscribe to set counties, and we provide that data month to month with no like contracts or anything per se. And then we also have some done for you mail systems, and then I also personally have a hand in kind of training clients on like how to talk to people in this kind of precarious situation. I feel like that's one of the main places people get stuck is like, how do you market to someone who's had someone die? Like, what's a good way to do that? And so I think a lot of people kind of like, give pause. They're like, I don't know if I want to be that guy. I don't want to be the hearse chaser,
Right.
So I think for me, there's a right way to do it. And it is a effective niche if you can show up and actually feel confident in marketing. And so that's a lot of what I do is help people get through that.
Yeah. So let's talk about that. How would one approach someone in that situation? And what we're talking about, of course, is probate. Someone passes away, there's an estate, there's a lot of stuff that has to happen in the estate, which may or may not, but for the majority of the part or the time, include real estate that needs to get liquidated, sold. So how
Correct.
would you talk to someone through is like, hey, I'm not quite sure about this?
Yeah. So, I mean, I think it's always useful if we put ourselves in the person who we're trying to, attract, speak to, or, relate to. So, if I end up on my list and recently my dad was on this list. So I'm like going through this with my dad. His wife recently passed away unexpectedly from cancer. And so, there's a couple main things that people end up like dealing with, so the first thing is emotions, right? They just lost something that's irreplaceable, like the void of a person being there is usually significant.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that, I sum that up quick, but like that cannot be overstated. I would say the second thing is that it's there's a logistical mess. So they're dealing with things that likely they're going to have to deal with one or two times in their life ever. Yeah. And so even if they've gone through it before, it's still unfamiliar, it's still overwhelming, and it's stacked on top of this emotional kind of pain that they're feeling.
Right.
So all of that in frame. It's marketing to them. There's kind of like two routes. You can go ahead and send a probate letter, or you could speak directly to the knowing challenge that they're going through. And the challenge here is that no one likes to feel targeted by the circumstance in which they might actually need your help.
Yeah.
And so, I have a lot of clients who they'll take my list and they're mailing strictly a probate letter. And the amount of hate that they get from these letters is just overwhelming. I mean, like people will go out of their way to make your life miserable. Heaven forbid you like have some kind of branded material associated with a business that has a reputation and you're sending out these letters. Do not do this. That's only going to cause pain in your business. So if you want to have it be vague and a little more anonymous, just a name and a number, like that can play, because it's funny. There's a certain demographic of people that actually feel really, it creates a ton of just rapport right away when they see like, wow, like this person did pass away. This is a hard time with my, estate, my life right now.
Yeah.
And I do want to sell. Thank you for sending this really thoughtful message. But, that's like 1%. The other 99% are foaming at the mouth. They're angry. They're yelling. Anyway, so you can go that route. Just know that hate's coming for you. The other alternative is what I do is basically, I don't talk about death. I don't bring it up. I market to this person like they're a normal lead. In fact, I market in a way that is very, very vague.
Mm-hmm.
So like my first letter in my sequence, um, and I just want to share some stats. So it helps add a little context. I'm in Wisconsin, central Wisconsin. Direct mail response rate here is higher than most. But my first letter that I send, I get at least a 12% response rate. Up to 15%. So it's really high. And all I say in my letter is, hey, I've got a question about your property. And it's a good letter for this list. It's not a good letter for most lists.
Yeah.
The reason why it works here is that I know that 50% of these people who I'm mailing to are going to transfer title of their property within the next 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
And so, 1 out of 2 people that I talk to are going to sell at some point in the future. And if I can create a relationship with them, know them, get them to, like me, trust me, believe what I'm, telling them is the truth, then, when they get to that place, when they get to that point, they're like, oh no, that Micah guy, like he heard me, he listened to my stories, like he spent time with me on the phone, like I want to work with him.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, in and of itself is his own superpower. It's like, how do you get a seller to want to sell to you, even if your price is lower? And like that's a tactical thing we can do. Like you can, show up in a way to make someone feel useful, special, whatever, interesting, whatever it might be. So your offer gets accepted, even though it's not the best offer, or you at least get a chance to bid up to that next best offer because they like you. So like, hey, money really actually is an important thing here. Would you meet this? And the only way you can get sellers to treat you like that is to get them to feel like you are very significant to them.
Right.
I don't know if that makes sense.
No, it
But
totally does. I've been in that position where I've been on the losing end earlier
right,
on in my career where I would lose you know, a property to you and I offered more. I'm like, what was it that they went with
right.
Micah and they took $50,000 less? Like what was he doing? What was he saying? And I guess that's a big part of it.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
So I kind of digressed, and I apologize. I got on a tangent, but I was just trying to talk about marketing to these people, what to say, how to relate to them. But I think that in probate specifically, I disassociate the death. I leverage relationship first, before the transaction, and I expect the transaction because of my relationship with them.
Right. And who are you marketing? Because probate, there could potentially be a lot of players, right, Micah?
Yep.
Who is this letter going to, and how many letters are you sending? How frequently? All that good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. So on our list specifically, which we call inheritance, it's a little bit different than probate. So again, we're matching death and real estate ownership. So
Yeah.
there's like kind of 4 main categories actually. So it ends up being pre-probate, surviving spouses, trusts, and interfamily transfers before the death.
Mm-hmm.
So you're marketing to all of those people. And what we found just the best way is we're sending a letter to the mail address of the direct property that person owns. So,
Okay.
in that it's before probate typically happens or, started, at least on that initial mailer.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm mailing the house where that person lived, where they lived when they passed away, or,
Okay.
they had ownership. Maybe they were in the hospital or something. But, and, I'm really pretty vague about who, again, I want to accept the letter. I write, I have a mail merge for the, who I'm addressing it to, which is, the Johnson family. I don't want to specifically target Rob Johnson, who passed away.
Mm-hmm.
I want to target the family. And so, I send a first class letter to their house, and it's to the Johnsons. And, that first class component is kind of important because you want that letter forwarded on. And if you don't pay for first class, they won't do that.
Mm-hmm.
If it is going to probate and, someone's taking care of that estate, that's one of the first things they do is they forward the mail on. So they can stay on top of other bills. They can just basically keep things running until everything's sorted out and they get it off their plate.
Right.
So that's a pretty key component. And then as far as mail goes, I basically send 3 letters within the first 60 days. And then after that, I switch to a quarterly postcard.
Okay.
And like follow up is very much is key here. It's like it takes time to sort through it. I already talked about kind of the emotions and logistics.
Mm-hmm.
And, I just got a call the other day. Like they were calling from a letter that I sent like 2.5 years ago. It
Yeah.
was like, so the dad got it. I mailed it to when the spouse passed away. The dad died, and then the children called me. And so it's like, it's funny. I love mail because it's physical. It doesn't go
Yeah.
away. Like someone tucks it somewhere. It's like it's important. They're like, no, like at some point, someone's going to have to go through and kind of process that if they keep it around. And I think that direct mail's got that going for it as compared to text or email. It's just
Right.
they put it on
That
their
gets
fridge and
lost in the shuffle very easily.
yeah.
Yeah, I can't
I mean,
remember how many times, probably more times than I could even go back and figure out how many people were like, I kept your letter from 10 years ago. And you're like, oh my gosh, you still have
right.
it.
This is crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gotta get that thing and frame it, man.
Yeah. 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 How, just out of curiosity, we've done direct mail a lot. We know that like there's all these like studies or whatever, like you have to mail someone 5 or 6 times for them to even acknowledge the mail, etc. Like how many times are you recommending people send out in a drip campaign to these families?
For me, I do it kind of in perpetuity.
Okay.
Once I get to the postcard, I just keep on going. Like I was just talking with a client of mine, and like it was funny. He's been my client for like 4 years, and I've never talked to him. So anyway, I was on a call with him, and I was like, "Well, just tell me what you're doing. Like, I'm just curious, like how it works for you." He's like, "This is all I do. I go through, I hyper target the stuff that I really, really want, and I put them on a drip sequence. I mail them every 2 weeks until they tell me to stop or it gets sold."
Okay.
I was like, and how does that go? He's like, I just bought, my most profitable deal after my 24th postcard I sent them. I was like,
Wow.
I mean, and it's funny because everyone's like, it's so easy to start something, right? You get like, you start rolling the ball and you're like, and then all of a sudden you hit this tiny pebble and you're like, wow, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's specifically in this niche, it's like the longer kind of lead time that you have to work with them, get them to understand who you are, what your business does for them. The easier it is to close them when it comes time that they're making that decision around like, yeah, I'm going to sell this place.
Right.
Yeah, no, I've been getting your stuff for 2 years and I'm ready to go now.
Yeah.
Is there anyone else bidding on this property? No, not really. I'm calling you. You've been mailing me forever.
Cool. You you mentioned something earlier about letter number one. You asked them like a specific question about the
Yep.
property. Are you able to elaborate on that? Like what is the first, you said you kind of avoid the elephant in the room and like I know that you're the probate, going through probate. But
Yep.
what is the tactic? What is the question that kind of gets that ball rolling with the direct mail?
Yeah, no, like that literally is the letter. I have a question about your property. Give me a call, my friend.
Oh, okay. That was the question, like the
Yeah,
question.
yeah, exactly. And so then they call and they're just like, "What's your question?" Or like, they'll send me a text. "What's your question?"
Yeah.
Um, so I call them. I just say, "Hey, this is out of the blue, and it's no problem if you're not interested, but I'm just curious if you thought about selling your property." And so, it's yes, no, or maybe, or kind of the last one is like, how'd you get my information? And
Yeah.
that actually comes up a lot because the average age of this list is like 75, 76. Like they're older. They're not as tech savvy as
Yeah.
you or I per se. Um, and that's another component that I found that's really useful. Is just having a really good canned response for like, how'd you get my information? And most people do this if they're marketing at scale, but with these people, I just tell them, a version of the truth that works really well. Hey, I got your information from county records, and I'm mailing to you from there. Or if we're cold calling, because I do cold call as well,
Hmm.
I just say like, I went to this crazy website called True People Search, and I typed in your address and your number popped up. And they're like, they'll do it on the phone with me. They're like, holy crap, I had
Yeah.
no idea stuff like this existed. This
Kind
is
of playing
crazy.
aloof somewhat, but not really.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And then you mentioned like you get these lists, you mail them. how are you tracking? Like, I'm curious to know. Like, you stated a lot of different percentages and numbers. So obviously, you're tracking KPIs and data. How are you
Yep.
like physically tracking that? Like tactically, someone listening out there that's like, "Hey, I'm doing mail, whether it's to this niche or not." How are you
Yep.
handling that, and how are you kind of keeping everything organized?
So I use CallRail for all of my different numbers. I segment the numbers by the letters that I'm sending out. And then I mean, as far as the mail goes, I'm just cross-referencing, you know, did this person call? If they did, are they interested? If they are, they get pushed to our actual CRM. Otherwise, if they're not interested, or if, whatever, like if they tell me to
Yeah,
f off, I'm just removing them. I don't mail them anymore,
right.
and then kind of pushing that through a sequence. And so, I have a full master list of like it's about 11,000, 12,000 people on that list. And then I have kind of those monthly lists leading up to it that are on their specific letter. And
Yeah,
so it's like it's simple, but it works. I like it. You don't need something crazy complicated. It just takes a little bit of legwork. And so, I am actually awful at a CRM, like a classic entrepreneur. Like I just don't integrate with that well. So
yeah.
I have an acquisition person and I have an assistant to help me with those two things. So like they're keeping everything clean
Okay,
for me. And then, typically acquisition person handles all of, just the kind of day-to-day calls, booking appointments, and they'll run the appointments unless it's something I'm really interested in that I feel like I'm just tactically way better to handle. Say it's a bigger deal, development play,
right.
something like that.
Okay. So, are you actively, this might be a dumb question, but I know you provide this service to people, but are you also actively doing this in Wisconsin or somewhere around the country as well for
Yep.
yourself, for your own business?
So I have, let's see, I'm basically marketing to like the entire southwest corridor of Wisconsin. And
Okay.
so we've got, I don't know, I think we're actively flipping like 3 properties right now. We've got 3 properties under contract. I'm closing on one today, actually. And right now, actually, the I'm buying something from an Amish person. I already did everything
Interesting.
on my end, and they're signing the paperwork right now. So yeah,
Nice.
actively doing deals personally. I started in real estate, 10 years ago, and then I bought this company,
Okay.
and this really was just a way that I could level up, get better, have more opportunities in my own life. That's how I looked at it first, and now it's different. It's turned into you know I never thought I would be coaching anyone on especially this subject, but
Yeah.
to do it right, you end up helping people, and it really does end up generating a lot of win-win situations, so long as you're coming at it with the right attitude, kind of the servant heart. You're just like you want to help people, and
Yeah.
I found the more that I help people on the list, the more money that I make. There's a
Yeah.
direct correlation.
It is it's a definite different scenario or environment than most, but when you think about going through just a home sale, not whether you're an investor or you're an agent like a realtor, a real estate agent,
Hmm.
you're often coaching or quarterbacking someone through the home sale. But
Yeah,
you also throw that on top of or involved with an estate. There are rules and legal proceedings and filings and all this stuff. So you're
yeah,
actually really helping them. I mean, you're helping someone buy, you're helping someone sell, but on this it's like more grandiose scale. It's like there are certain rules and it's by county, by jurisdiction, they're all
yeah.
different and you got to know how to navigate it. So you're providing a real value here and you're making it so, and especially like these out of state fiduciaries of the estate, they
Sure.
don't want to come back and fly. Maybe they can't afford it or they just don't want to do it uh,
Hmm.
physically, right? So it is a very, very uh, lucrative niche, obviously, because it comes up again and again, week after week, unfortunately. But also, I guess, fortunately, if you're looking for a really good lead source to kind of drip to year after year, because it compounds and it builds.
It does. And you know what? It's like death is a part of life. We're all going there. Like, um, and I think, knowing how to treat people with grace in that circumstance, like you ultimately are being of service to the world. That said, like, if you were to ask me, like, hey, do people get mad? Like, absolutely. Like, people do get frustrated that I'm actively marketing to them. But and it actually, it really used to bother me. It's like it would kind of erode at my heart, like I was some kind of scumbag or something like that. But once I realized that the frustration that people are pushing towards me is just a representation of the love that like doesn't have a place anymore, that person's gone, that they're never coming back. It kind of it shifted my understanding, and it shifted like what it meant to me.
Yeah.
It's like, absolutely, like I can take some licks from a person who like just
Yeah.
lost the most important person in their life. Like, that's fine. Like, I'll
Yeah.
listen.
It
And better
definitely
yet, like,
takes, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I was gonna say, better yet, like maybe I can get that person to transition because I am willing to listen when no one else will. Right? It's
Yeah.
like that's all I was like coach people's like my highest and best stuff. Like if I can take someone who's really angry at me and turn them around to actually have a solid conversation, like that's where I want to operate at my highest state.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's kind of ironic or funny or however we can label this, but like we would send anyone letters and they would get mad at us just for sending them a letter. Like, how dare you
Right.
send me a letter? So you're going to get that regardless, but there's
Yep.
certain ways to handle. I mean, we just, in our team where it's like kill them with kindness, take them, take them off the list, assure them that they're not going to get any other mail from us. And then you kind of just move on. But you have to
Yeah.
get past that. And if you're approaching this niche as a specialist, you have to get past that, tough love or whatever. But it's like, get past the fact that they might be upset. And I mean this in like the lightest form ever.
Yep. No,
Like
no, I
you
get
are
it.
really bringing them a value, and you're really helping them navigate this quite complex scenario that, like you said earlier, you might go through that once in your entire life. You might go through the property sale once, and it could be quite cumbersome and
Hmm.
hard to navigate. So add on all this stuff with like inventory, debt, collectors, heirs, but like all the people in the estate that you're going to run into. So you really are, and you really need to truly believe you're providing them with that service to make their life easier at the end of the day.
Right. Because if you're not sold on that, yourself, like
Yeah,
you're not going
exactly.
to be effective.
Right.
Like, so like the first sale is like, you believing that you actually are of service. And if you
Right.
don't have that, like you got to figure that out.
Right. Exactly. So, Micah, this has been really awesome. There is, it's kind of like, I don't know if you're seeing this as well. I'm seeing it a lot, but like specialties seem to be popping up more and more. I'm seeing two things in
Hmm.
real estate. Number one, solo agents or, investors joining or forming teams and then becoming specialists to kind of stand out from
Yeah.
amongst like all this competition. But you've dropped some amazing stuff. I hope the goal of the Team Lead Talks podcast is if someone listening can pick up like one thing to better their life or their business, their family, what their community, whatever it is. So I think we really accomplished that today. But I took this from Tom Kroll. I was just on his podcast last week, and at the end of all of his podcasts, it was super interesting to me and just really where I came up with a massive list of I got to do this, I got to do that. But is there a resource, a book, a checklist, anything that you can provide someone listening today that they can take and go run with to, you know, better themselves?
Yes. It's funny, actually. I just finished basically like an inheritance, like, it's basically like a mini book, master, like, this is why, this is how, this is who. Um, but I don't have the whole funnel built out yet. So if someone is interested, they should just, text me inheritance at, my business line, and I'll just drop that here if that's useful.
Yeah,
I think
we'll
that's
drop it in
pertinent.
the description of the video so anyone
Okay.
listening can pick that up.
That's fine. Yeah. It's 608 690 So just text me inheritance. I'll get you this. It's not hard sales. It's just basically a little bit of my story, the context around, what it is that we do, and why it's useful kind of approaching these people with that servant heart.
Very cool. Awesome, man. Well, thank you so much for being here. I learned a lot. It was great seeing you again. Great talking to you. And,
Absolutely.
I know we're rolling up on Thanksgiving here. So happy Thanksgiving early on. Hope you enjoy it with your family.
Same to you, man. Thanks for having me. Really
All right, man.
appreciate it.
Thanks.
Absolutely.